Hello everyone, and welcome back to another True Crime Tuesday. I just want to say thank you to everyone for your lovely comments on my announcements video. You're all really supportive and really kind, and I really appreciated that. For those of you who support me on Patreon, some of you have asked if I'm going to continue to do true crime on there, and I will. That was only max 2 videos a month depending on the tier that you're in, so I can totally do that. I will continue to do true crime on my Patreon, so don't worry about that. So for today's case, it's one that I've wanted to cover for a while, but it's very similar to other cases that I've covered. It's very it's got kind of a similar outcome, I guess, but I wanted to cover it anyway. So today we're going to be talking about Rachel Mellon Skemp. She was a 13-year-old girl from Bolingbrook, Illinois. She was an honor student and she was really into science. Her parents had separated, so she lived with her mother Amy and her stepfather Vincent. On January 31st of 1996, she decided to stay home from school for the day because she had a sore throat, and she wanted to just stay in bed and sleep it off. She was last seen at 2:30 p.m. by her stepfather in bed at her home. He said that they had a really easygoing day together, that they played some video games, and that around 2 p.m. or 2:30 p.m. She decided to go to bed, and he then took the family dog out for a walk. Now, he said that he left the door unlocked because he wasn't planning to stay out very long. It was really cold out that day, so he wasn't planning to walk the dog for very long. But he returned much later than he planned because he said that the dog had slipped out of his collar and had chased a rabbit, and so he spent a long time looking for him. He stayed gone for half an hour, so he returned around 3 p.m. Now, he returned home without the dog, and then he just went on with his day. He said that he checked on Rachel, but then when around 5 p.m. her mom got home, she wasn't in her bed. So her mom immediately filed a missing persons report. Now, she said that police kind of didn't handle it very well from the beginning, that it took them over an hour to get there. And when they got there, they found that her 2 pillows and her blue blanket were gone. However, all her winter clothes were still at home, so it almost looked like someone had just picked her up out of bed with everything that was in her bed and moved her. So they started a huge search party. Now, it was below 0 outside, and I know that the temperature difference between Fahrenheit and Celsius gets less the lower and the higher you go. But below 0 is still far colder than below 0 Celsius. Like, below 0 Fahrenheit is really, really cold. So it was really cold for everyone to do the search, but they did a very thorough search and nobody found her. Now, police told her mom that there was no way Rachel would survive very long outside on her own in these temperatures. Her father, who lived in Dallas, Texas at the time, immediately flew out to help with the search, and he told an interesting story. He said that on the day that she disappeared, she had made a call to her paternal grandmother. Now, she was forbidden to call that grandmother from her mom and her stepfather. I'm not sure why. There must have been a falling out between the family, but she wasn't allowed to call her. Now, the grandmother didn't pick up, so I'm not entirely sure how they know this. There's either phone records that show that she made a call to her, or she might have left a voicemail. I'm not sure, but it's definitely established that she called the grandmother. So her father then immediately thought that something was just wrong that day because she never tried to do that before. They then started zoning in on Vincent, the stepfather. His story had a lot of holes in it, and there were some suspicious things just around Vincent. Now, he maintained that he checked on her when he got home and that the dog ran away. However, first he checked it. He said that he checked on her and everything was fine. And then he said that she must have been taken while he was out with the dog, which means that either he didn't check on her when he came home, or he did and she was missing and he didn't tell her mother until she got home. Because if she had been taken while he was out, then obviously if he checked on her when he came back, she wouldn't have been there. Also, he said that the dog was returned by a real estate agent before her mother got home. But if the dog slipped out of its collar, how did the real estate agent know where to return the dog? Now, I know that dogs can get chipped. Like in Ireland, it's obligated to get your dog chipped. But I don't think that 2 hours is enough to find a dog, take him to the nearest vet to get the chip read, and then return it, especially not in that weather. I don't know, I just don't see that happening. Also, no one ever spoke to this person, and no person ever came forward to say that they returned the dog. And they did inquire about this. They did ask to speak to this person to confirm the story, and nobody ever came forward. And also, there were a lot of houses in this neighborhood, and nobody saw a man running around after his dog, and he was out there for half an hour, according to him, in very cold temperatures, which I'm sure people would have seen. He also had multiple scratches, and when police asked him how he got those, he said that he had been working on his car, and that's how he got them. And he also apparently had a long history of domestic violence. Now then, they found her diary, and they were hoping to find a clue in here as to maybe that she ran away, and they were hoping to find that. And they found that a few months ago, Rachel had written in it that she was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. So this just led the police to suspecting Vincent even more, and he was subjected to a grand jury investigation multiple times. He had to hand over his DNA, his blood. They tapped his phone. But despite all of these efforts, they were never able to charge him with anything, as they never found Rachel's body, or they never found any concrete evidence as to what happened to her. A few years later then, Amy, her mother, and Vincent, her stepfather, separated. But despite all of the allegations, they got back together, and they moved out of the area, and they completely changed all of their contact information. So that is all there is about facts in this case, so let's get into some theories. So the first and foremost, most widely believed theory is that Vincent did something to Rachel. Rachel's father and the police absolutely believe that this man is guilty. He was initially brought in for first-degree murder, so police obviously believe that that a murder has taken place. People believe that he saw this as the perfect opportunity to sexually assault her when she decided to stay home from school that morning. And they believe that maybe he tried to sexually assault her and that she fought him, and that he either, whether accidentally or not, that he killed her. Now, some people argue that his behavior is strange because it could be that he didn't check on her when he really should have, and that someone came in and took her while he was either walking the dog or while he was in the house, and he never noticed it, and that he felt so bad that he never checked on her, that he was trying to cover it up. But I just find his story of the entire day too strange. And some people also say, well, 2 hours really isn't enough time to do something and hide a body. But the only account we have of the day is his. So he could be lying about the entire day. That's probably what happened. The whole story about how they had a very relaxed day that day and they played video games together, that's not necessarily true. He could have done something to her in the morning and had an entire day. They lived about 45 minutes away from Lake Michigan, which is a very big lake. It is perfectly possible that he killed her and dumped her body there, and he would have had plenty in fact true, that his entire day was made up. Another theory is that a stranger took her. Her mother strongly believes this, but it was below zero weather. Now, it's hard to believe that someone would be like sitting out in a car watching the house for presumably hours, waiting for someone to leave her alone when it's that cold outside. And also, it would have to be someone who knew that she was homesick that day because it was a weekday. She wasn't supposed to be home. There's a chance that it was a crime of opportunity, that someone wanted to break into the house to rob it and found her home and, like, you know, had to get rid of a witness or something. But if that's the case, then they would have only had half an hour while Vincent was walking the dog. And I find that a very short time frame to pull something like this off. So I don't really believe that theory. Another theory is that she ran away. This is surprisingly, well, maybe not surprisingly, this is the first theory that police believed. Now, it's usually the first theory that police believes when someone goes missing is that they ran away. However, they quickly dismissed it because in the weather she wouldn't have gotten very far. She, like I said, all her winter clothes were still at home. Her pillows and her blanket were missing, but like she wouldn't have just made it very far on her own. And with the amount of neighbors that she had, someone would have seen her walking like this young girl with barely any clothes on in that weather. So I doubt it. They did check all modes of public transportation just to rule it out, and they didn't find anything, which means that she would have had to leave on foot. And again, in that weather, with the way she was dressed, like she would have succumbed to hypothermia very quickly, and they would have found her body. Another theory, it's not necessarily so much a theory as to what happened to her, but one of the investigating officers was a guy called Drew Peterson. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Stacy Peterson case. She is a woman who went missing, and he is involved in that. So Drew Peterson is currently in jail. He was convicted for killing his third wife, and his fourth wife, Stacy Peterson, went missing in 2007 and is currently still missing. He is also convicted for trying to hire someone from jail to kill the state's attorney. Like, this man has murder written all over him. And a lot of people believe that he was involved in a cover-up in Rachel's case, that, you know, whether it was to cover up what Vincent did or what someone else did, you know, he seemed to take pleasure in killing young women. His fourth wife was only 19 years old when he was 43 years old. So people believe that he kind of got a kick out of this, and that he didn't do the investigation very well, that he was just trying to help cover it up for whoever did it. I don't really know. On the one hand, I find that a bit far-fetched, and on the other hand, I don't. It is extremely weird that a man like him was one of the investigating officers, but regardless of whether he helped to cover it up, it still doesn't explain what happened to her. A lot of people think that the mother knows what happened to her and is trying to cover it up by moving away. Here's the thing. If you have any hope that your child is still alive, I don't think you would move to I think they moved to a different state from what I heard. They moved to Kentucky and they were in Illinois, and they changed all their contact information. So if you had any hope that your child was still alive, it means that the one place she would know to go, she wouldn't be able to find you in anymore, and she wouldn't be able to reach you anymore. So I don't believe that she would do that if she believed that her child was still alive. Now, she said that she believes a stranger took her, and I think after, I don't know exactly when they moved, it was years later anyway. I mean, I think at some point you probably can give up hope and accept that your child is dead. But I do question it, because I think it's obvious obvious that she didn't believe her daughter when she said that she was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. Now, I'm not saying that she necessarily knew about it, but the fact that she went back to him after she knew about it because police found it out, she was obviously informed. She clearly didn't believe it, or she wouldn't have, gone back to him and moved away with him. Her father also believes that that's why she tried to call her paternal grandmother that day to tell her about it, because her mother didn't believe her. That's all speculation, but it's obvious that her mother, at least at some point, knew about it, even during the investigation, and didn't believe it. So, I don't know. I don't want to accuse a mother of covering up the death of her daughter, but it reminds me a lot of the Amy Fitzpatrick case, where I kind of feel like the mother knew that the stepfather did it and wanted to cover it up. This case reminds me a lot of the Amy Fitzpatrick and the Alyssa Turney case. It always seems to be the stepfather, and I find that really sad because there's a lot of great stepfathers out there. Like, I know a lot of people with some kick-ass stepdads. These men are just giving stepfathers a bad rap. I mean, in the Kyron Horman case, it was the stepmother. Like, seriously. It just becomes so predictable that when a child goes missing and they have a stepmother or stepfather, that it seems to be one of them that did it. So let me know what you guys think. I mean, I think it's for me, it's pretty obvious that he did something. I do believe the theory that he tried to maybe assault her that morning and she fought him off, which is why he has the scratches, which is another thing. Who works on their car in below zero weather? I don't believe that for a second. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I am going to try from now on, since I'm only going to be doing true crime once a month anymore, I'm going to try to make these cases longer. I'll have a whole month to research a case, so I will try to pick out longer cases and maybe add a bit more detail. And hopefully that makes up a little bit for the fact that I'm only going to be doing them once a month. Let's see, today, I plan to do them the first Tuesday of every month, but today is the end of January, so I probably won't do any in February. I'll probably go straight to the first Tuesday of March. I'll see, but I'll try to make it a longer case so that you guys can, enjoy it a bit longer. So, as always, thank you so much for watching. Please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe.